Sisi hatumuelewi Raila Odinga, na nimesema juzi nilikuwa na interview. Hatujui vile anataka. Na tunangojea atoe msimamo ndio tujue vile tutakaa na yeye. Kama ataamua kuchafua legacy yake ya miaka hii yote na kuunga Rais William Ruto mkono, hiyo ni haki yake. Na sisi hatuwezi mzuia. Lakini hiyo haina shida yote. Kwa sababu zile kura alikuwa nazo, ndani yake iko kura mingi sana ya Kalonzo Musyoka. Hiyo itakuwa imeondoka. Pale Kisii imeondoka. Pale kwa Mlima alikuwa na kura 1.1 imeondoka. Kwa hivyo hakuna kitu kubwa sana atapelekea Rais William Ruto. Number 2, huyu Rais William Ruto amewachwa na kila mtu. Kanisa ambaye ziliunga yeye mkono zimemuondokea. Watu ya Mlima tuliunga yeye mkono 3.5 million tumeondoka. Watu wako na payslip. Hao wafanyikazi wote wakiwemo nyinyi wanalalamika sana. Kila mtu ya payslip. Na payslip holders ni karibu 3.5 million wamemuondokea rais. Hii watoto wetu wa Gen Z ambaye watachukua kura karibu 9 million hawako na yeye. Hata Raila akimuunga yeye mkono tutamshinda. Mimi nataka nikwambie itakuwa ni vile Raila ataamua. Kama ataamua asimame na upande wa Kenya, atakuja tuketi tuulizane atachezea wapi. Ni wapi anaweza shika namba katika timu hii. Tuone mzee wetu ako na credentials yake, tunaweza fanya kazi na yeye akitaka. Kama atataka kuenda kumsaidia William Ruto ambaye amewachwa na kila mtu, ni haki yake. Na sisi hatushughuliki. Sisi tuko na plan na nzuri. Na tumesikiza Wakenya, tunajua Wakenya wanaangalia sisi kama viongozi tuwapatie plan.
This is DMP Kenya, and welcome back to Turning the Mirror podcast. This is where we bring you the reflection of politics and governance across our country, Kenya. And today we are driving again our focus into this man Raila Odinga. We are in a political quagmire, and people are questioning what's Raila's next step. And everywhere people are talking about him. The former deputy president is talking about him, and even the government itself is desperately looking for this man. What's the way forward?
It's very technical for Raila Odinga.
Yeah.
And of course, whichever side he takes will determine the weight he goes with. Because as it stands now, look at Kenya Kwanza. On a serious note, they need him. For the coalition to be stable, and also for Ruto himself, for the presidency to keep being in place. They need Raila Odinga.
Yeah.
Of course, they really need him. That is why they tried having him for the AUC position, so that they could have his support, and then his men could speak on his behalf.
Yeah.
But now that he's back, we still saw Ruto welcome him in State House Mombasa. And then we had Ruto speak of, he hinted at having some consultations. In other words, looking for how to accommodate him within the government.
Yeah.
But now the big question here is, for now, they might accommodate him, maybe with some positions, or maybe giving his men some positions.
Yeah, sure.
But now, if he is to support him past 2027, then which position will Raila Odinga hold in that government?
Yeah.
Because if we talk about prime minister, which is not there anyway constitutionally, even if they decide and maybe amend the constitution and bring the position of prime minister, I really don't think if Raila Odinga would fit that position, because he would not be useful. Because imagine Raila Odinga working under somebody. So it will not really make sense. Yeah. He will not be, his competency in that position will not really make sense.
Yeah.
And therefore, when it comes to Kenya Kwanza, forming a coalition with Raila Odinga, the question is, which position is Raila Odinga going to play?
Presidency,
which role?
or vice president?
Again,
Can he be vice president?
I doubt if Raila Odinga can deputize William Ruto. Because remember, all along, Raila is a big man in the Kenyan politics. And for a very long time, he has been running for the presidency. He has worked with Ruto in the past. Ruto as his deputy, and then Ruto as a member of the cabinet, where he was serving as the prime minister.
Yeah.
So Ruto, again, Raila deputizing Ruto, I don't really see that. It's not possible. Again, Ruto deputizing Raila is not something that can happen constitutionally, not unless if they change this constitution.
Which Ruto can never accept.
Yes, because if Ruto is to step down as the president and then now support Raila for presidency, because you remember what Gachagua was saying, that if Ruto is really sincere about the broad-based government, then let him serve for this term and then now support Raila for 2027.
What about this other side, regarding Gachagua side? You see Gachagua is like trying to persuade and also not trying to communicate or maybe want to be clear that he's persuading Raila to be on his side to fight his one enemy, Ruto.
You know, Gachagua is very wise. He knows very well that Ruto cannot again run as a deputy president because constitutionally he is not allowed. He has served the maximum terms provided for as someone who can be a deputy president as per the constitution. He has served for 10 years. So he cannot again run as a deputy president. So in other words, if Raila is to support William Ruto, then William Ruto must just be the president. And with Gachagua speaking, you know, he's playing around with the emotions and feelings of Raila Odinga and his supporters. So if he's saying that if Ruto is sincere, then let him support Raila in 2027. Is playing around with Raila'S feelings and also the emotions of his supporters.
You know, this is big because you see that Gachagua has even ditched Kalonzo for the sake of Raila. It was like Raila was already relevant in Kenyan politics, and just as he gets in, the dilemma kicks in, and everybody's speaking about Raila. That is there something special because it's like Raila is still a force, and the attention they're giving him is making him more powerful.
You know, Raila is a very fun human being. The moment you think Raila'S politics and strategies are over, that is when he rebrands and makes himself more relevant than even you thought he would be. And Raila Odinga, just by coming back and moving around without even speaking, he has just become so relevant that most of the candidates we were hearing people talk about are no longer relevant. People are no longer speaking about them. And Raila is a big force. So either sides need Raila. If the opposition is to win, then they really need Raila Odinga in their camp. But again, the big question is, which role is Raila Odinga going to play? Because if he joins the forces with Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka and all that, then what is going to happen? Because we've had Dunstan Maanzo, a serious Kalonzo's point man, speaking and saying that Kalonzo is ready to step down and to support both Raila and Ruto so that they support him in 2032. You know, that is Kalonzo speaking. So in short, if Raila goes to Kenya Kwanza or the side of Ruto, then Kalonzo will go to the Ruto side. But if Raila goes to the opposition side, then Kalonzo will go to...
You know, let us look at it like this. It's like Raila has already taken side because Kalonzo will only go to the Ruto side if Raila is in there. And he's sure that Raila has taken side. Because you can't say that a person that is like a spokesman to Kalonzo Musyoka is saying this when Kalonzo has not yet decided. Because we see this is happening to mean there is a decision that is already made.
And remember the day Raila was meeting Ruto in Mombasa, at the State House Mombasa, that very day Raila was supposed to meet Kalonzo Musyoka. So maybe they talked and Raila hinted at supporting Ruto. But then again, you see, it's very difficult for Raila to ditch Ruto. You remember what Ruto has done now in the past, just recent past, what he has done. Of course, this is a man who stood with him in 2007 and now again stood with him strongly in his quest for the AUC position, AUC chairperson.
But that's not it all because he's the only person who stood against him, who made him not the president, the 2022 elections.
But then, of course,
he lost because of him.
Raila's ditched so many people in the past. Even
he
those he signed MOUs with, those who are at times his diehards, and of course, those who made him more relevant in Kenyan politics, like Miguna. At times, you realize he betrayed them. So it is still also possible for Raila to again ditch Ruto, but with good reasons. Because then Ruto, if he ditches Ruto for the opposition wing, then Ruto would still get some votes. Because then Ruto would be campaigning against Raila. Let's say maybe he ditches Ruto for the opposition, and then the opposition decides to front him. Because according to what Gachagua is saying, they are ready for anything. And 2027 is very far. It is very far for politics.
Many things can happen.
You can even wake tomorrow and things have changed.
Yeah.
So 2027 is too far for things to happen in politics. So if at all he joins them, because you hear Gachagua saying that if he joins us, then we can now sit down and discuss and see which position in this formation he can play
Which
in.
number can he
Yeah,
play?
which number can he play?
It was like Gachagua was like, I'm going to give you the way forward. Like, we are going to launch a party. It was something that was cooking. It was like, it is being brought to the table, but it has never come to the table. It was like, because they were waiting for Raila getting to AUC, the African Union in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, or coming back to Kenya.
Yeah.
And now Raila's come and everything is at standstill. They're
He's-
waiting for his next move.
He's coming back has confused a lot of things. He has just like disarranged and rearranged, and like so many things have been confused. But what I can tell you is that there's also a big option, and I'm seeing a possibility again of Raila working with Team Gachagua, because he said yesterday that he is consulting widely. He is going to do that in Nyanza. And also the better part of Nyanza, which is now Kisii and Nyamira. Then he's going to Western, Eastern, Coast, Central Kenya, and all these regions. Remember, there are Raila'S foot soldiers, like Professor Nyang' Nyong'o, James Orengo, we have Edwin Sifuna, we have Babu Owino, among many other people, both those who are vocal and those who are not vocal, who are feeling like if Raila supports Ruto, then he's going to have... he's going to taint the image he has always built for, like, over the years. And therefore, others also feel that if he supports Ruto, then they are going to fail together with Ruto, because then Ruto has lost the ground and support. Today, it is only Luo Nyanza, a good number of them, and partly Rift Valley, who are speaking good, and Somali, who are speaking good of Ruto, if we now talk of ethnic politics, because that is what Kenya's politics is all about. But then look at Team Gachagua and what has been cooking. But now you see again with Raila joining Team Gachagua, there are people who have to now shelve their ambitions. The likes of Matiang'i. The likes of Matiang'i will have to shelve their ambitions to become president, because then I don't see Raila playing the politics of deputizing Matiang'i or deputizing somebody in that coalition. Not unless, either way, if Raila supports Ruto or he decides to support the opposition side, the only position he can pick, if at all it is not presidency, then let's talk about Raila deciding to retire from politics. So he supports so he supports a coalition or supports a side, but with him he doesn't have any interest of becoming the president. Then maybe that would be possible.
I've even realized that the critics, even the critics of the government and those who are criticizing these different people in political positions, they're all quiet. They are also waiting for what's coming next. And to Rigathi Gachagua, what does he fear? Is he fearing to remaining in opposition for life with the mountain region?
The possibility is also here. If Raila is to support, Team Gachagua, then that means that team and Gachagua himself is going to be relevant. If Raila is to support Ruto, then things might happen in the political space, at the political sphere, that would make Gachagua irrelevant. When Raila was in Addis or campaigning for the AUC, Gachagua was so much relevant, and everybody was just waiting to hear and listen actually what Raila was to say, what Gachagua was to say. But today, most of the concentration have gone to Raila Odinga. And therefore, Gachagua might end up being irrelevant. And so he must play safe politics. So that in as much as, because today, people tell him to get out of Mount Kenya politics and be a national figure. But he still identifies himself as a villager with the Mount Kenya thing, because after all, for you to come to the national politics and for you to be a big wave, there must be a people, a strong force behind you. And therefore, Gachagua is trying to position himself and to get the support of the whole Mount Kenya region behind him. And then he can now come with that in his basket to bargain when now the big men are speaking and bargaining for the national
for sure, within the Mount Kenya region, there are so many big men who are craving to be the man to speak and the man to direct them. And now these things are happening. And I was also seeing a possibility that if in case Raila sides with Gachagua, then Ruto will get grounds to campaign on and make him again win against them.
Yes.
Yeah, that could also be very true.
That is true because, Raila is someone who Ruto understands. And the campaigning Raila for Ruto would be very easy because he would bring about the support he gave Raila in 2007, then talk about Raila in AUC, and then we'll talk about all these defeats that Raila has always faced.
And both of them have dark pasts.
Yes, and both of them have dark pasts. So in as much as Raila would be talking about the dark past of Ruto, Ruto would also be talking about the dark past of Raila.
Yeah.
And Ruto would even tend to be speaking about some things, trying to maybe unleash. He would make people believe what he's saying, even if some would be propaganda, that this is what we did talk about with Raila in privacy.
Yeah.
So this is the man Raila you are believing, but this is the man Raila. Ni mimi nilikata, that is why he ditched me and decided to go for those people.
Yeah.
So Ruto would use a lot of propaganda. And remember, Ruto is very smart when it comes to that. Again, if Raila is to join Ruto, of course there would be a force with Ruto, but the campaigning them would also be easy for this other team if they play their politics well. Because then there would be two people who have united and they have a past. Yeah? They have a past, of which some past is shared. And then this team, if they play their cards wisely, then it would go well.
Yeah.
But the question here is, Uhuru Kenyatta is very silent in all this. So whose side would Uhuru Kenyatta support? Because that then would also mean something in the mountain. Yeah.
And he supported Raila, and you know what happened.
Yes,
And
yes.
again, Raila has spoken about giving us the way forward just in a week's time. And that's also a big question, that in a week's time, maybe he could have not realized enough.
Yeah.
But
I doubt if that would happen.
And
He
I'm
might-
even mentioning that
Yeah.
also gave him some attention, so
Yes.
he can keep postponing and seeing how things
How
are.
things are going.
Yeah, sure. Leave us your comments in the comment section below, and sure you like our videos, subscribe to this channel, and welcome back again next time. Thank you.